Oh, and welcome to this week's LinkedIn Live. I'm Liz Ryan. We're always talking about workplace and career topics, HR leadership, entrepreneurism, that kind of stuff. And today we have a really good topic, 5 ways to become more powerful. So we're going to get into that. Leave a comment and just say hi and tell us where you're from. It's always great to see where people join us from. Usually it's all over the world, pretty much every continent except Antarctica. We're waiting for the folks in the various research stations down there to chime in. But anyway, yeah, say hi, leave a comment, and we'll get started in our topic in just a few seconds. Give folks a chance to arrive. We've been talking about entrepreneurism. We've been talking about taking control of your career and your life by extension. So today we're going to talk about 5 ways to become more powerful, right? How to become more powerful. That's a big topic. And I'm going to give you some practical tips for gaining power and having more control over the things that you do and the things that happen to you. Hello, in California, Colorado, Massachusetts, Chile, Atlanta. Fantastic. So happy to see you. Georgia, can't keep up. Maryland, making me think about crab, soft shell crab. Krugersdorp, so happy that you are here. From Ghana, wonderful. Dubai, Turkey, hello, merhaba. Wow. So, power. So let's start by talking about what is power? How would we define it in the sense of power that you could use? We know about power that comes through the electrical outlets, right? Power that we use to charge up our phone. Okay, we know about that kind of power. But what kind of power could we take on as human beings and use in our lives? And what would we use it for? Well, the kind of power that we're talking about in this workshop, this discussion today, is personal power. Power that you can use to what? To get more of what you want in your life. Maybe you feel like you would really like to help people solve a problems that they're dealing with. You would like to help solve societal problems or individual problems that people have. Or maybe you want power to get a better job. You want to have a higher level position than you have right now and earn more money and have more influence. Or maybe you want to use your power to do art, to do creative things. I need more power. I need more juice. I need more ability to make things go the way that I want them to go. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about building your power. Say a couple more greetings. Hello, Pennsylvania. Aptos, brilliant. Roma, wow. Welcome. Benvenuto, Nairobi, Kenya, so beautiful. Saudi, thank you so much for joining us from SA. Here's the thing. In order to get more power, personal power, you have to use the power you've got. Sounds sometimes a little bit counterintuitive. You have to use the power you've got. That's how you get more. That's how you get more. Imagine that you're at work and the job is okay, but certain things are not going that well. They're not treating you that well. When they need extra work done over the weekend, you're always the person that they ask. They always ask you. Why do they always ask you instead of your coworkers? But the boss seems to always ask you, hey, can you take care of this project for me this weekend? You say, okay, here we go again. To get more power, you have to use the power you've got. You have to set a boundary with your boss and say, do it this weekend. How about if I get to that on Monday? For a lot of people, that would be a really scary thing to say. I can't do it. I can't. You're used to treating me like a doormat, and I can't be a doormat. It's not even like I can't ever be a doormat for you again, but I can't be a doormat for you this weekend. What? You have to be willing to let the boss be whatever they're going to be. A little upset, a little angry, a little irritated. Probably that feeling of theirs will only last a few seconds. They'll say, okay, well, man, I'll ask somebody else. They're slightly irritated, but it doesn't matter because in the equation, their slight irritation was exactly what Mother Nature ordered for them. They need to feel that. They need to stop seeing you as a doormat. And what comes to you is voltage, power that you're gaining back in the relationship that you had previously unintentionally, we can assume, given away. You had given away your personal power. We all do it at times, right? By saying, okay, boss, whatever you need. And now you're getting it back. You're actually gaining power because you're stepping into your own self by saying, oh, can't do that this weekend, but how about if I do it on Monday? You have to use the power you've already got to get more. You will never get more power by hoarding whatever power you've got now. And you always have some power. You never run out of juice completely, even though sometimes we feel that way, right? Sometimes we feel that way. I have no control. I have no power. We've almost all been there at the depths of despair. I hate my job. I don't feel successful in my life. I feel like everything is against me. This stinks. I hate it. I'm not getting along with my friends, my significant other, whatever, and I don't even have a dog or cat to console me. It's just bad. We really got to think about, this is a bad state. I don't like it. I hate it. How am I going to change it? I've got to take a step. I've got to commit to something and I've got to do it, whatever it is. Get out of the living situation and stay with a friend, even on their couch. I've got to do something. Maybe I'm going to change jobs. That's going to be the step I take. I'm going to get out of this godforsaken job and get a better job. We have to use whatever we've got to get more power, right? We have to use the power we've got. So let's talk about what kind of power you've got and what kind of power you don't got, right? You don't have. I come from, like a lot of the folks who tune into these LinkedIn Live sessions with me, I come from the corporate and startup world. I come from the business world. Not since birth, obviously, but since age 19. That's pretty young. I've been in and around the business world. And the business world is its own place, it's its own ecosystem, right? It is not exactly like real life. We know that. The business world, the working world is not like hanging around with your friends or watching, a concert or going to a baseball game or a basketball game or a football game or whatever. It's different. It's different energy. It's more formal most of the time, and it's hierarchical because your life, just living your life, is not hierarchical. You're pretty chill, I hope. You're pretty relaxed when you're with your friends, you're with your family, right? It's you in your power when you're just living your life on your bicycle or with your dog or planting flowers or whatever you're doing, putting something in the oven and looking forward to dinner. That's you. That's you in your power. Unfortunately, when we go to work, often our power is diminished right away, walking in or logging in if we work remotely, because work can disempower us. When you work in a place where there's a lot of pressure on you, where you're not respected, where you're not valued for your contributions, that sucks your power away. And in that respect, just going to work and getting the money you need to pay your bills can take away your personal power. You've probably experienced that. I have. I didn't realize it at the time. I was too young and inexperienced to understand, but going to work was really hurting me emotionally because it wasn't a good environment for me. It did not, as we say at Human Workplace, it did not grow my flame. It shrunk my flame. Put downs, folks, put downs, little digs. Have you had this? Little digs at work. Oh, well, she has an idea. Oh, God knows this girl is full of ideas. Have you had that at work where your contributions in good faith, you're trying to help the organization, they don't want to hear it and they will actually smack you emotionally, verbally, or whatever, not invited to meetings, pipe down, nobody wants your ideas, right? Your work can hurt you and knock you down and make it harder for you to be successful in any area of your life and hurt your health and also make it harder for you to job hunt and get a better job because you want a job hunt out of power, not out of feeling, I don't like who I am. I don't like where I am, right? So when we talk about growing your personal power, it's not a trivial topic. And it's not a topic just about I want to be powerful so I can order people around and have the corner office. That's not really what it's about. Personal power is you make the rules for your own life. You set the course for your own life. You decide who gets to be in your sphere and how you're going to spend your time. Probably the most important two decisions you're going to make in your life, right? Who is with you? Who gets to be with you, sharing that good energy with you and bolstering one another? And how are you going to spend your time? And what it takes to be able to make those critical decisions is power, the power to choose, the power to decide. That's what we're talking about today. That's the topic for this session. So I'm going to take one more little comment break and look at the comments and comment on a few of them. Then we'll come back and talk specifically about 5 ways to build your power and become more powerful in your life. Got it? All right. Let's see what we got. Yes, I've been made to feel unworthy. It's very, very challenging, physically, emotionally. I'm from Cote d'Ivoire. Okay, bienvenue to Cote d'Ivoire. From Canada, nice, easy Canada. SoCal, so happy you're here. Chicago, Oregon, so Dubai, Egypt. Queens, New York. Yes, it is. Queens County. Love it. From Mexico. Thank you. What else? I had to get out of that environment. That's the best thing to do. Hats off to you. You got out of that environment. So you think about it, time goes by and you say, I had that awful job experience. And at the time, I just felt like, just let me out of here. And that was the right answer, right? You can't stay in an environment that is sucking away your power and your good feeling about yourself, because that's precious. Your flame is precious and needs to be guarded. But once you're out, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, sometimes it hits you. You say, if the who I am now, I wouldn't have tolerated that back then. Who I am now would have said something and I would have set a boundary, but I didn't know how. I was too young. I didn't know how. So the question becomes, is it possible to learn to be more powerful? Yes. 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 I always say that in our company, Human Workplace, we teach methodology for branding, methodology for job hunting, methodology for interviewing, for negotiating a job offer, for using social media, for managing people, for HR, for becoming an entrepreneur. Teach all this methodology. It's really, really good methodology, but mostly what I teach is mindset. And that's what we're talking about today. The mindset that is allows you to use the methodology, because the stuff I teach is non-traditional and you would not be able to use it unless you got into a mindset that said, of course, I'm answering this interview question in this non-traditional way. Of course, I'm branding myself in this very empowered and personal way. Of course, I'm doing that because that's who I am and the branding comes out of me, or the interview question response comes out of me and how I feel about myself. So how we feel about ourselves is everything, right? The methodology that I teach won't even work without the power behind it, without the flame and the self-confidence. So we have to learn and take steps into this more empowered state, whether we're employees or whether we're job hunting or whether we're managing people or we're doing our own entrepreneurial thing. We always want to be working on our own power, our own confidence in ourselves and our ability to make the important choices and decisions in our lives. So I'm going to share with you 5 ways to build these muscles and get stronger and have more power to make the decisions that matter in your life and in your career. The very first way to grow your power, the first step in the chronological list of steps, right, is decide what you want. A lot of times people say to me, I don't have any control over anything. I have a job I don't like. I have to do what my boss says. I have to do what my girlfriends want to do. I have nothing to say about it. I don't like my living situation, but I can't change it. They feel completely powerless. And again, we've all been there. It's normal. It's nothing embarrassing or shameful. We've all been there. You say, I don't have it. I don't have the juice, right? Sometimes your friend might say, "Hey, let's go do this fun thing." You say, I don't have it. I don't feel it. I just need to curl up with a blanket this weekend and watch old movies. I can't. I don't have it." That's fine. We have to recharge sometimes. We have to take care of ourselves, right? Self-care. But part of self-care is looking at what would I have if I got to decide what I want and need? What do I want? What do I want? This is a hard question because people, they feel shy about even attempting to answer. Here's what they say to me: I'm no one to decide what I want. I'm just, who am I? I'm just, if I have a job, I'm grateful for the job. I don't know. I don't want anything. That's training. Someone trained you to be so, you know, undemanding. That's not healthy. I don't care. You do care. You're allowed to care. You should care. It's your life. You should care, right? And certainly you're allowed to care. You got to care. You can get a journal, you can write it down. There's no pressure. You have enough pressure on you already. Okay. I'm not giving you more pressure. But as a form of self care, what would happen if you got a journal and started writing about the things you want? I want to change careers. I want to change jobs. I want to change how I dress. And I don't even know how I would dress, nor do I have the money to buy new clothes. But this is something that I want to picture for myself and gradually step into over time. I want a different friend group. I want better friends. My friends are not good friends. You know why I hang out with these friends? Because I've known them so long and that it's just a habit, but they don't support me really. I go along because it's better than being by myself. But then again, is it? When we stop and think about what we want, the questions lead to more questions. And the more we dig into these questions, the more we say, I'm really getting a better sense of what's important to me. And that feels like a luxury. And it feels so, so exotic to think about what I want and need and deserve that I don't even have anyone I could talk to about it. Fine. Then don't talk to anyone about it. Just write it in the diary or the journal. Tell your cat. This is the first step in becoming more powerful, is deciding what you want. Could be short term, could be long term. I want to plant flowers on my balcony. I have a balcony. I'm going to use this balcony and I'm going to get some deck rail planters or some hanging baskets and I'm going to plant flowers and I'm going to really design what kind of flowers I want because I really don't know anything about flowers, but I know it's easy to find out about them online and get some really beautiful ones because you know why? It's going to beautify my space. And the first time my mother comes over here, she's going to say, I can't believe you're wasting money on that. And that's part of it. Because I need to find my voice to say to my mom, Mom, I love you. Let me decorate my balcony how I want. I work 45, 50 hours a week. I'm good. Thank you. I love the parental advice, but I'm a certain age now and I can handle the flower thing. Getting stronger, getting more power always requires stepping through fear. Stepping through a fear that we might not even realize we have. It's so old. It was implanted in our brain when we were 3 or 4 years old. We don't even know we have this fear. But when you don't want to do something and you resist it, it's fear that somebody put in you. It didn't come from heaven, didn't come from this earth. It came from someone telling you, never do whatever, never always do this and never do that. Always. It's a fear. And stepping through fear could mean telling your beautiful mother, Mom, no, or your boss, or your roommate, or your sister, or your boyfriend, or your girlfriend, or your spouse, or your whatever. Right? No, I don't feel like hanging tonight, but what do you mean? You have to. Are you going to let me down? Is that what my oldest friend is going to let me down? And you're not going to, I love you. I'll see you soon. Tonight, I need to chill for myself. If it's hard to say, that's the first thing to say. If it's hard to say, then it's the most important thing to say because that's how we get stronger. We step through these little membranes of fear over and over and over. And you know what? It's only new ground once and then it's old ground. Just like learning any new skill, we get stronger. We think I could never do that. And then we do it and we say, wasn't that bad? And we do it again. Right? So 5 ways to get more powerful. The first one is decide what you want. Decide what's important to you. Could be in the short term, in the long term. Don't censor yourself, What do I feel like I want that I don't have in my life right now? Could be something at work. Here's an example. I do editing, let's say. I do editing of documents, and I do edit a newsletter, which is a fun part of my job. It's a client newsletter, and I really like it. And I'd like to work with a graphic designer and do some cool editorial things. Like I've kind of proposed it to my boss, but my boss is like, we have a lot of other priorities. But this is important to me. And so I can't decide whether to do something outside of work just for fun, my own newsletter, or push more and try to make a case why my boss should give me just a little time, 2 hours a week. I'll donate the time, okay, after work, just to have this creative expression that I think would really also help the company. And I can't decide what to do. So they both, the talking to my boss seems scarier than just doing something on my own, but that uses time and I don't feel like I have any time. So what am I going to do? I'm going to write it in my journal, and I'm just going to open up some energy for the right answer to show up. I'm not going to punch myself like I always do. You're bad. You're wrong. Why haven't you solved that problem? It's on your to-do list. This is old tapes from my mom, my dad, my grandmother, my teachers, whoever. I'm just going to open up energy for the right answer to show up. And I trust 3 to 5, 7 days, it will, right? It will. And I'll do the right thing and I'll take the next step because now I'm trusting in myself. I'm trusting in myself and my instinct more than the tapes that are playing in my head since I was a little kid in preschool, right? It's softening the energy around us to let power, natural power that we have always had, kind of blossom, growing our flame. The first thing is deciding what you want, what's important to you. That's an act of courage. It's an act of courage because, to a certain degree, when you state it, when you speak it, or when you write it in your journal, it becomes real. And a lot of times we don't want to speak it, we don't want to write it because we feel like there'll be pressure on us to bring it about. There's no pressure. This is having the courage to say, here's what I would like. It could change, but right now, here's what I want. If I had more power, the power to choose and decide, here's what I would use it to build, to manifest, to make real. Okay? That's the first step. The second step in getting more power is to reclaim your own story. You are 24 or 36 or 47 or 62 or 89 or some age. I'm 62. I have worked a long time, lived a decently long time. I have stories. You have stories, and you have one big story, which is your life thus far. It's an incredible story. I hope people have heard various parts of your story because I know it's amazing. It's unique. It's literally irreplaceable, and no one else will ever have your story or anything close. Not only no one else living today, but no one else in the history of this universe has ever had your story, and no one ever will. It's completely unique to you. And that's powerful. And we don't always feel our power, the power in our story, but I want you to open up some room to feel that power just a little bit, to say, I've done some stuff, and I've seen some stuff, and I've learned some stuff, and I've experienced some stuff, and I've battled through some stuff. And it's not the kind of stuff that people say, wow, you're really a warrior and you're really incredible. But I am. I do feel like I have worked hard, and I've made my way, and I'm going to have to acknowledge myself because acknowledgement is a very hard thing to get these days, and affirmation is a hard thing to get, and I don't think anybody gets enough affirmation. So we have to give it to ourselves. And that's another thing that journaling can do for you. I want you to get the power in your own story, and you get that by revisiting it and reclaiming it. Here are some questions you can answer about your life thus far that I think will give you insight, and they may make you feel some of your power. I hope so. When you were a little kid, what were you interested in? What did you like to do? Can you remember? Write it in your journal. What did you like to do when you were 5, 6 years old? Kindergarten, first grade, first form, whatever. What kinds of stuff captivated you? Because those activities that drew you in as a small child, they're still very significant to you. That doesn't change. You don't say, "Oh, when I was 5, 6, I was fascinated by this, but I don't care about it anymore." That's very unusual, right? They have a pull, they have a power over us, and that is part of your power. Your curiosity is part of your power. Your creativity, your ideas. Did you write a little short story when you were 7? What books were you fascinated by? Write them down. What did you and your friends talk about when you were a little kid? What did you think you would be when you grew up? Right? Those old, early impressions have power. The hard world and people who are hardened by the world often beat those childhood aspirations out of us, right? Figuratively speaking, and say, no, you could never be that. That's too unrealistic. I wanted to, you know, do music since I was a little kid. I wanted to perform. Well, in a way, what am I doing right now? Right? Performing. So those old instincts of yours, you just grew up, right, from the mother earth. You grew up, you were 5, you were 6, you were pulled in certain directions. What are those directions? Capture that in your journal. There's a huge amount of power in that. Who were your friends, and why were you friends with them? Did you sit next to each other in first grade? Or what spoke to you as a child? Who influenced you? What grown-ups influenced you? People that you knew personally, or people that you saw on TV, or you read about, or your parents talked about? Who were the people that influenced you, and what about them was powerful for you? Because again, we're talking about power, and we're talking about gaining the power that's in you, but it's not always accessible. We don't always feel it. When the world kind of, does this to us, we have to build back the power that we were born with. And it's a process in part of letting go of a lot of teaching. Unfortunately, many of us had laid on us about you're not allowed to reach for the stars, or who do you think you are? Some really unfortunate messages that we have to shake off and say, yeah, that's fine. Old message from my past, like you helped me at one time, and now it's time to let you go. I have bigger aspirations now. I feel the world is more hospitable to me and who I am becoming. So, step number one in growing your power is to decide what you want, right? Decide what's important to you, because you got to have something that draws you forward. And it's an act, as I said, of courage to decide. It's not a lifelong decision, but for now, this is what's really important to me. Often, when we get a little bit fixated on, I have to get new dishes, in my kitchen, or I have to, um, get some kind of object that I'm going to own and that's going to make me feel whole and complete. Hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with treating yourself. You work really hard. And if you have the money and the time and you want to get something for yourself, a barbecue, fire pit, or whatever, of course you should take care of yourself. It's another form of self care, but it can also be a distraction, can it? I got so into, pick your whatever. I got so into it. And later we say, oh, that was a distraction off my path. That was actually something I couldn't deal with my path. The big questions, what do I want in my life? So I got really into this diversion. I've done that 1,000 times. Okay. Now we're opening up space to say, what if it weren't scary? And I just asked myself, what do I want? And then step number 2 is reclaim your stories and your big story, your life story. It's so powerful to go back and revisit, right? What I've learned, who helped me, right? Who supported me, right? There could be difficult stuff. And if the stuff in the story most of us have is difficult, sometimes, it's helpful to talk to someone whose job is to talk with people about difficult stuff in their past. There's really good counselors and therapists who do nothing but that and just help people come to a better place of understanding, you know, putting everything into context and seeing their possibilities despite the fact that they've experienced, really rough stuff. Step 3 is, in your life, start to think about boundaries. You gain power when you are not everybody's doormat all the time. And I speak from experience because I was a huge people pleaser. People pleaser, okay, at work and everywhere. I probably, like, 99% sure have some, now they say neurodiverse, I don't know, some kind of neurological thing. I never, that, been diagnosed, but probably I do. But probably in large part because of that, I was like, "What else can I do for you? Can I help you? Let me take care of that. Sure, I'll do that. I'll do that. Yeah, no problem, no problem, no problem." Completely to the point where I had no boundaries at all, particularly at work, because you got to please people at work. Got to get the gold star on your forehead, just like you're back in first grade, and that's the highest praise. But the thing is, people don't value you when you are the doormat. They don't even see you. They don't appreciate the effort. They don't think it's nice on your part. They think, oh, I can ask that person anything. And you will get smacked down somehow. The last message will come back to you. They don't value you. They're just asking you to do their job for them or asking you to do stuff that you totally shouldn't do because they know you will. And it's just easy. And they do not respect you and they don't even necessarily like you, but they'll tell you, "Oh, thank you. That's so sweet of you." No. You know how it happened to me? How I got cured? Oh, that one is bracing, bracing, like, cold water in the face, but it was beautiful the way it happened. I was, running HR for this company and racing around, going to meetings, talking to people, doing my thing, la 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 la. And somebody came, somebody came in my office and they said, "So, there's a huge sales meeting going on in the biggest conference room, like 100 people in there." I said, "Yeah, I heard that." And they said, "Yeah, so the VP of sales just said, 'Oh, you need that done? You need an exception to the policy, or you need a workaround, you need somebody to grease the skids, you need something special done from HR. You just talk to me about it afterwards.'" In front of 100 people, he says, "I got Liz Ryan wrapped around my finger." "Oh, you what? You have me wrapped?" Excuse me. Excuse me. And so I was 36 or something like that. Whoosh, adrenaline, which is fear-based, right? That's fear. When you feel that adrenaline rush, that is the primal instinct, fight or flight. Whoosh. Oh, did he? He said he had me wrapped around his finger. Is that what he said? Uh-huh. Well, okay, yeah, no, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. Of course, it wasn't fine in my body. What was I? Furious? Embarrassed? He tells 100 people, "Ah, Liz, I got lit." He didn't come and see me for 2 hours because he couldn't. He was in the meeting, but he knew, like, as soon as he said it, he was like, "Oh, I just said that to 100 people. That was so wrong. Like, that is getting back to Liz in 1 minute, and she's gonna be so mad at me." And so in 2 hours, I had time to settle down. And he came in and said, "So, I'm so sorry. I'm sure you heard that I said I had you wrapped. I know I don't have you wrapped in my finger. I was just spun up. I was talking. It was so." I said, "No," I said, "It's fine." I said, "You know what? We all do that, but you know what? You got me to see you kind of do. I like you. We work together really well. And honestly, the two departments typically that HR struggles with, often it's a stereotype and it's also true, are finance and sales. Finance, because it's like, finance is like, we're hard and whizzle with the numbers, and that's hard. And you guys just deal with the people, and that's soft. And you're not really a department. You're not really business. And they look down their nose. This is not universal, but it's a trope. It's out there. It happens. And then sales, because salespeople are like, "Oh, forget the policy. We're just gonna woo," and they make up their own rules, and they like to be that, and that's all part of the archetypes at work and stuff. And I said, and so I was so pleased and honestly so grateful that I never had conflict with you, because sales and HR often butt heads, that I just really did say, "Sure, if you need it, you've got it. Fine, great. Where do I sign?" And that's probably not responsible on my part. And so you actually helped me today by saying this offhanded thing that got back to me and got the adrenaline rush through my body, that you helped me because I realized I wasn't making decisions from the right place. I wasn't making decisions about sales and the sales team from a place of personal power and integrity. And what's the right answer? I was making those decisions from a place of, don't let this guy be mad at me. And that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous, right? I'm supposed to run this function so that it works for everyone. And no, I appreciate it. I honestly, literally did. I appreciated it then and now, because when people force you to raise your boundaries, they do you a favor, even if they make you furious in the process. I'm sure that's happened to you. So step number 3 is set boundaries. Start looking at boundaries that you need to set. Now look, you're not going to set all these boundaries in one day. You're going to over time. Setting boundaries can be really scary. So here's my recommendation. Write down in your journal what you would do to the relationship, how you would shift the relationship, what the ideal relationship would be for any relationship around you that isn't ideal right now. So let's just say it's your coworker, and your coworker, really takes advantage of you. And they say, "Can you edit this email?" And you're like, "Why don't you edit your own email?" Yeah, sure, I'll edit the email. And just, since you're editing it, go ahead and send it. And then just like, you know, let the responses come to you. Right. It's like, whoa, whoa, what's I was gonna be a second pair of eyes on this email. And now all of a sudden now I'm sending it out and the responses are coming to me. I got something weird here on my screen. I don't know why. We're not doing that. But you're not ready in the moment to set a boundary. So you're like, "Oh, okay." So you go home and you think about it and you say that I can't believe I let that happen to me. It's just not appropriate. I might have the time, but I'm not just doing everyone's job because I'm the nicest person in the world. It's not. I'm an adult and I need to set boundaries. So you start by envisioning what would be the ideal relationship. What should the relationship look like? And the relationship you might decide should look like somebody says they want you to literally do their job because they don't feel like doing it. Then you say, "Oh, I'm sorry you're going through all that. I'm happy to talk you through, how to help manage the workload." Or just the simple, "I wish I could help, but it's impossible. I wish I could help. It's just impossible." You might not even have to go that far. You might say, "I'll read it. I'll be sure to read it and get it back to you." Whew, they call that fogging. You don't hear what you don't hear because it's not an appropriate suggestion. And you're saving them from some embarrassment by saying, "No, that's ridiculous. Why would I send the email that's supposed to be from you? What am I, your assistant?" You're not going to get into that because that's not out of power, right? That's out of the fear. We're not here to teach everybody how to be around us, but we are, setting boundaries and they can figure it out. So number 3 step is to set boundaries. And the way to do that is to decide where you need more boundaries than you have right now and envision what that relationship would look like and then just be ready. You don't have to go and make some big declaration, but the next time a person tries to slice through one of your boundaries like it doesn't exist, you say, "Oh, yeah, why don't you go ahead and send me the email. I'll make edits and I'll send it back to you. I can't do that all the time, but I can do it today." Right? You just push those boundaries little by little back to a reasonable place where you feel respected and valued by yourself as much as by anybody else. Okay. The fourth way to grow your power, the power that matters, your personal power, is by speaking your truth. And sometimes that is not something you can plan. Sometimes it pops out. And I am here to say, if it pops out when you weren't expecting to speak your truth, but you did it anyway, it was supposed to happen. Can happen at work, can happen in your friendship relationships, can happen with your family members. It was supposed to happen. You know, you say, "No, it doesn't work for me," or, "I can't believe you said that. That was so rude. That was so inappropriate." Sometimes, we have to just speak our truth right from the gut and it's unfiltered and it's just and out it comes. And sometimes that's a really good thing because your gut is old. This evolved, right? Over millennia to keep you safe. And I want you to listen to your gut before your brain. And that takes time to cultivate. Your gut is really, 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 really good. Your instinct. It's really good. You have to develop a relationship with your trusty gut that says, "I'm going to listen and I'm going to take your advice." So you go to a job interview, you go to 3 interviews with the company. It looks like they want to hire you. You got to stop and check in with your gut and say, "Should I take this job? I've just been so oriented to they want to hire me. That's like so great. I need a job." Your gut says, "You don't want this job." Right? And sometimes you say, "But my gut, I'm scared. What if I don't take the job? What if it takes weeks to get another job?" And the gut says, "Sweetie, don't take the job." And you say, "Okay, I'm not gonna take the job. I'm gonna trust the gut. Me and my gut are gonna be you know, like a little partnership going through this life. Your gut is gonna serve you well, really is." And the last step to growing your power is to take a step into the scary place, what looks like a scary place, into the unknown, into terrain that you have not covered before, taking a step out of your comfort zone, doing something that challenges you, doing something that feels a little bit intimidating. That's how you get more powerful, because the things that felt intimidating become not intimidating anymore once you do them. Little by little, imagine if every day you did something new and slightly scary, or even twice a week, how large that zone would become of things that are not scary. And they might be scary to other people, but they won't be scary to you. I'm going to take a little quick here, getting this weird thing we don't need in the chat. Don't know. Anyway, those are the topics. Those are the 5 ways to grow your power. Number 1, decide what you want. Number 2, reclaim your stories, your individual stories, and the big story. Number 3, set boundaries. Look at the boundaries and see where they're not serving you and work to move those boundaries out. Number 4, speak your truth. And number 5, take a step into the unknown. Let's see. I have a question. How can someone build power in a work environment where they're the youngest, working with people older and experienced, and they sees it as the one that always have to shut up and listen and just assist because they think you're too young to have valid opinions? I want to understand all that relationship. No, understanding is the booby prize here. Gail, understanding is I want to understand. I understand why you want to understand, but that will not help you, right? Yes, there's a relationship, of course. Older, they assume they're more experienced. Well, they're certainly more experienced. They assume wisdom. They assume the hierarchy. They get to tell you have 2 choices to build power in an environment like that. One is the way I've just mentioned, by setting a boundary. Yes, I'm young. Yes, I have less experience, and I still have boundaries. I still have some standards for myself. And the other way is to obviously leave and change jobs, which is a big step for a lot of people, but it's a step we're all going to have to take. Really, nobody listening to this session today is going to be in a position to stay at the current job until you retire. It'd be very unlikely, unless maybe you work for the government, but probably not even then, because of the way things are changing in the workplace. So the better we get at changing jobs, not every minute, but every few years, actually, the stronger we get. And there is a big difference between people who are always looking out for their career and changing jobs, let's say every 3 to 5 years, than people who really, really stay in one place a long time. It's inevitable, right? It's inevitable. You get comfortable and you fall asleep and you stop testing yourself and you stop dealing with new situations. And that unfortunately hurts you and hurts your power. All right, let's see what else we've got. So that's the last question. And this is the topic, 5 ways to grow your power. Leave a comment if you'd like, and come back next Thursday. I'm going to be talking about next Thursday how to write your human voiced resume. That's a resume format and methodology and mindset I created, and it's unique to us at Human Workplace and very, very, very powerful. This human voiced resume. And so I want to teach you how to do that. And we're going to do that next week on LinkedIn Live on Thursday, June the 23rd at 1:00 Eastern time. So let's see. Before I go, thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining. It's so good to see you always. And follow me on LinkedIn if you're not already following me. Follow me on Twitter. We post a lot of fun polls and stuff like that. It's at Human Workplace. And have a magnificent weekend.